There goes your job.
We're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just
billionaires.
It's about paying their fair share.
Fair share.
I am not mad at anyone for achieving success, but everyone should pay their fair share.
The look on her face is like when the parents tell the kid for the first time, hey, you got here because we had sex. And the kid's like, no, we got here because of a stork.
You know, when a man and a woman love each other.
That is, yes, that's my theme song. Yeah. By the way, everybody, Leland.
Hello.
What's your middle name?
Johnny
Francis?
Francis?
I don't know. I just made
my middle name is Terrell. That was my dad's name.
Terrell.
AJ says when I want to be black, it's Terrell.
I was going to say that's a very black name.
Yeah, I can be Terrell Whaley if I need to be.
Terrell Whaley.
Sometimes you got to pull that card, man.
Yeah, that's your NFL name, by the way,
that's
Terrell.
Right. That's right.
Leland Terrell. Yeah. So you're back in studio. We went back and watched the first time you came, which was 11 months ago. And we were so green at this podcast stuff.
Y'all are good now.
It was we're big time now, but back then it was like
I'm still green.
Yeah, I felt like when I go back and watch that episode, I'm like, dude, I spent the whole damn show talking about myself, and because remember I was doing the panic attack thing.
Yep.
And
I've worked with Dixon for a long time, so I understand how that works. I'm kidding.
I was like, I need to redo that because that one didn't turn out. Plus, Bird wasn't here for the last one.
I knew it. Johnny B's one of my favorite people.
So we got John Bird, Tony Gump as always.
As well.
Yeah.
And this is leftover from the Man Show. Peanut butter whiskey. Have you had this?
No, I have not.
Oh, man.
But I like peanut butter and whiskey.
Yes.
So
and this is Old Smoky Tennessee whiskey, so I'm a fan. This is actually my favorite. It's not fancy, it's not expensive, but it's from Tennessee, and that's what matters to me.
It's like whiskey with a peanut butter cup or something. It's awesome.
Oh, it's so good.
We went to a vineyard on our Italy trip, and the lady that was in charge of the winery stuff was calling it Tuesday night wine, Thursday night wine, Friday night wine. So
nice.
Tuesday night wine is the cheap stuff.
Yeah.
And by the time you get to Friday and Saturday night wine, that's your expensive stuff. So this looks like maybe Friday night liquor.
This is Friday night liquor.
It's good stuff.
Raise a glass, gentlemen.
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
Johnny B.
Cheers, everybody.
Man,
Cheers,
Andrew.
everybody. Cheers, Tony Gump.
Gump.
There we go.
Yeah.
So Italy, man, how was that?
Oh, beautiful.
Wow,
beautiful.
wow,
I'm in love with this country. One, I'm a history freak, and you can turn any corner. There's something 800, 900 years old.
Yeah.
And you forget how many connections our country has to that country. Their gift to the world, a lot of what we do, their civilization was around a long time before we are. You also recognize how young we are as a country. But what breaks my heart, and I don't mean to be a drag, is just that they've still got a continuity of culture. They've hung on to their language, their traditions, their ways, their family structure. The things you see there, it's like getting in a time machine and going back to the 80s or 90s here.
Yeah.
The way people interact, everybody's not obsessed with their phone. Kids are respectful. Their elders are respected. People live a long time. Their food's better. I'm just there's a lot to learn from the past, and they feel old-fashioned. They talk about us, and they wonder why we were even attracted to that. I was like, our country's going to hell. Our culture is rotten.
Yeah.
You guys are hanging on to something you should preserve here, and I guess they know that.
Yeah, I think probably a majority of that comes from just the belief in faith, first of all, but the belief in the family structure, like the normalcy of mom, dad, kids, kids being respectful and all that kind of stuff. And that could that's kind of the glue that holds society together at the end of the day.
Absolutely, it is. The first trip we made over there, and I think I've told John this story. We go out to our first thing. We'd never been to Italy. We're in Rome that trip, and we go out to this piazza. There's plazas. And we're in an area where there are no tourists. If you can go to Italy, get away from the tourists. You're not going to see anything but fellow Americans, haggling over cheap tourist stuff.
Can we watch your video while you tell us about this?
Yeah, the one you
posted
from the last trip. Yeah,
This
was
get that rolling.
We found this little drone that can follow you around, and that's what this shot is. It's a drone flying backwards, just following us through the streets. So every now and then we'd whip that thing out and play it.
Oh,
and
y'all,
it's following us on the Vespa right there.
Y'all took the drone yourself, or is it something they have there?
No, it's the size of the palm of your hand, and it just follows you around.
What?
And then when you're ready for it to land, you stick your hand out. So she was playing with this thing. And so I had to incorporate that. So I just did a music video.
Yeah.
And, that's Pienza. We're walking down, overlooking the Val d'Orcia, this big valley we stayed in. That's our B&B where we stayed, and that's the city of Pienza up on the hill. I bought that guitar while I was in Milan.
What were you playing right there?
Freebird, because all the pigeons.
Nice.
All the pigeons. Yeah. We went to
What brand is it?
It's just some cheap brand it was, John would appreciate this. He's a guitar guy. It was a 30-year-old guitar from a company that's been closed, but it was made in Italy, and it was literally $200 or $300. I was like, I'm buying it.
Yes.
I would spend that on shoes or something. I was like, got it all the way home. I babied this thing and carried it all the way home, and we were exhausted. Got to the Birmingham airport. We're loading into the car and dropped it.
Oh, God, no.
And dinged it. I dinged it after I got home. But it's on the wall. It's in the guitar room.
So you're just it's gonna be decorations.
Yeah, I didn't have a classical guitar. It's got that sound, the catgut sound. So it was just a memento. It was fun. It's just a beautiful, peaceful place. It just really is.
I had to do it.
Oh yeah, and that's the Gladiator House. It was right near where we were staying. Yeah, that's where they shot that scene, and so I had to do it. She made me take a cooking school, and I actually enjoyed it.
Really?
I made tiramisu. Wow. Yeah, I'm still a man. I'm less a caveman than I was before I went. But
you're like a man with a dash of Richard Dixon in there.
I do what I can. It's she loves to cook, and that was her birthday present. She turned 40, so we did her a big thing. That was our group. We learned how to cook and drank some wine. It was really a great trip.
Man.
Yeah, worth
That's
every
wild.
bit of it. Yeah,
good
great
stuff.
trip.
And then there's some pictures in the mix too.
Michelangelo carved that, but he stopped. He didn't finish it. That's the actual. That thing is huge, by the way. That's the Last Supper.
Really?
That was we were starving after the wedding, so we just popped into a mom and pop pizza place.
Oh, this is the one, because I think I heard you telling that on the radio. Is that where you met the old lady who was fascinated by y'all, and you was trying to explain what you do for a living?
Yeah. Well, that was also our host at one of they call them agriturismos. So they'll have it's like an Airbnb, but out in the country at a winery. And this lady was 94 years old.
Yeah.
Spoke pretty good English. Sharp as attack. I mean, just sharp as attack. What I'm saying is she was no Joe Biden. And, but she's running the whole place. 1,000 olive trees and vineyards, and guests coming and going from her villas. And she'd come sit with us every morning for breakfast. So I tried to tell her, I said, I want to interview you for my radio show. She could not understand what that meant.
Do they? I mean, they have radio over there,
but it didn't make any sense to her. She goes, "What do you want from me?" And I pulled out the recorder on my phone. I said, "Here, let me show you." And I asked her a question, and she answered the question. I played it back for her, and she looked at me like I was stalking her or something. So I couldn't get an interpreter to tell her what I was about. But,
maybe it's like the Amish people where they won't take pictures because they think it steals your soul.
Could be. What was funny was I was out of options. So at one point I said radio, she didn't understand. I said media, she didn't understand. I said broadcast, she didn't understand that. And
and
then at one point, I don't know why, I said celebrity. I thought something like that would work. And Jessica's looked at me like, "Oh, so you think you're a celebrity now?" I said, "No, I was just trying to say I have an audience."
I get that too.
And introduce you to people. So whatever.
That's good stuff. Here's a couple of your wedding photos, man.
Man, what a great place you found.
Everybody that is friends with you on Facebook found themselves in the same situation as me, where they hear their wife going, "Oh, that's so beautiful." Everybody loved this. The pictures were amazing, and it just seemed. The takeaway, if you're just on the outside looking at these pictures, it's like, oh man, you guys just got to do it by yourself, out there, not worry about crowds and family and all that kind of stuff. It was just scenario. Us
and an Italian sort of minister of the area that's allowed to do weddings, and we didn't. I mean, she found this place. This church it's the ruins of a place called the Cathedral at San Galgano. San Galgano was a knight. He was a playboy. He was a partier. He liked peanut butter whiskey. He threw down. Yeah. And then the story goes that I think it was the angel Michael came down and told him he needed to straighten up. And he goes, "I don't believe in any of that stuff." And Michael said, "But it's true." And he said, "If it's true, then I'll stick the sword into the stone and it'll go into the stone. And it did.
Yeah.
And you can go see the sword in the stone. Archaeologists have examined it. They said, there's a sword in that stone. Dang. Well, it flipped him out, and he just sold all his possessions, started feeding the poor, and became a monk.
Dang.
And they built this whole monastery cathedral around his life. And then it's about 800 or 900 years old, and the roof fell in the 1500s, and they just didn't restore it. But it's really ruins, but it's a tourist attraction. And
I've been like, that's one sharp ass knife.
Yeah, they say that the King Arthur sword and stone kind of legend came from that story.
So
but it was magical.
So it's based on the sword and the stone, which I know of it. That's not an actual real story, but it's based on what you're talking about.
It's based on, apparently this is some kind of real legendary story.
Wow.
And yeah, it was out in the Italian countryside in the middle of nowhere. It was great.
What do you think, like, people that are touring, the places we live 200 years from now, and they're come to see historical sites like the Black Lives Matter mural at Railroad Park.
They'll wonder, wow, what an amazing time that was. It was
the mural to St. George Floyd.
Was when they gave up on law enforcement and everybody ate each other and killed each other.
The fecal streets of San Francisco.
Right.
Fossilized turd from San Francisco.
Oh my God.
It's it's the beginning of the end.
Yeah, we're not leaving anybody anything. We're just trying to make sure that our kids have a halfway decent country to live in. But who knows if that'll even happen?
I mean, you're walking around in a country and you see a 900-year-old statue. You think, well, they didn't tear down their statue.
Right.
I mean, they had some total a-holes that were Caesars and emperors and whatever.
Yeah, they had people running around with swords and all kind of stuff.
They kept all that in place. They kept their history in place.
And you think it survived World War II? I mean, that's one thing I think about.
You want some more history?
Yeah.
The Last Supper. Okay, just because the French insulted the world with their little stunt at the Olympics, it was one of the archaeological things I wanted to see. So it's in Milan. And I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was a framed painting. I just didn't know. My grandmother did your grandmother have one of those on her wall? All the grandmas had a Last Supper, right? And so really it was a mural painted on a wall in a cafeteria for some monks is all it was. It was Da Vinci was this 20-something-year-old poor kid who had some painting talent.
Yeah.
They said, hey, do something for Jesus over here on the wall.
Yeah.
And so he took him 4 years to paint it. There's a lot of symbolism in it and stuff to learn. But the other side of that wall is a kitchen. And they'd be in there cooking and doing stuff. And so the humidity was causing it to rot and almost fall apart. So over the centuries, they'd paint over it and paint over it and paint over it. And so in World War II, we bombed it. We, or the British, bombed that building. And the only wall left standing, the church survived, and that wall was left standing.
Wow.
So the Last Supper's exposed to the elements. They get it sealed back in. And then years later, a restoration lady took 21 years to go through it, centimeter by centimeter, and take off all the old and reveal what was underneath was the original paint. It's amazing. Wow. So now it's so controlled. There's a humidity-controlled room, temperature-controlled room, and they only let small groups in every 15 minutes. And for a few months a year, and then nobody sees it the rest of the year.
That's wild.
And it's huge. It's huge. It was moving. It really was.
Yeah, it's funny because that's such an iconic photo, and I think probably the vast majority of people don't know that story about it.
Well, there was
that's the Last Supper.
Stuff I'd never noticed if I stared at it for 1,000 years. There's Peter is depicted in there. He's actually holding a knife, and you have to look at it and go, "Wait a minute, he is holding a knife," and just things like that. Weird. The way they're hands are being held meant something to Da Vinci. So,
a lot of detail.
Also, I called him Da Vinci. That's not his name.
What's his name?
His name is not Leonardo da Vinci. It's just Leonardo. He was a bastard. He had no family. He was disowned. And so he didn't have a last name. Vinci is a region. You can see birds over here. Were you yawning? Or
you blew my mind.
Vinci is a region, and Da Vinci means of Vinci. He didn't have a last name, so they just Leonardo
from Vinci.
Over in Vinci. It'd be like Andrew de Moody. And so And so that just became, so they still call him Da Vinci, but that's not a name.
Interesting.
That's not his name.
I thought you were going to say his name was Carl or something.
Dave.
We're back to Francis. Terrell.
No,
Terrell Da Vinci.
I could sit here and talk to you about Italy for a month.
That's crazy.
It's in my brain.
Just so much detail, so much backstory, so much history.
Yeah.
Could you imagine somebody like Kamala Harris going to visit Italy and getting the tour and being explained, or imagine her being the tour guide for your tour in Italy and explaining what everything
Italy
is.
is a country that has country things.
In paintings. This is a painting.
This is made with paint.
Have you seen, they're about to come out with an interview with her. MSNBC just did. Stephanie Rule. I think that drops tonight or maybe the next couple days. You want to see a preview? I got a preview of it.
No, you don't.
I do.
Oh, God.
This is real. Usually when I
didn't
lead
know who
up.
Stephanie Rule is. Which one of these chicks is Stephanie Rule?
She's on the right. So normally when I tee up something like this, it's usually like AI or whatever, but this is the actual interview. So this is what you're going to get if you watch the interview.
Oh, my God.
Expanding that child tax credit, or you mentioned housing before, giving that extra money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control
Look
of
how
the Senate,
befuddled she
where do you
looks.
get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to raise.
There goes your job.
We're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just
billionaires.
It's about paying their fair share.
Fair share.
I am not mad at anyone for achieving success, but everyone should pay their fair share.
The look on her face is like when the parents tell the kid for the first time, hey, you got here because we had sex. And the kid's like, no, we got here because of a stork.
When a man and a woman love each other.
There's no way. That's not real.
Wow, when's this going to be over? When are we done with her?
I don't know, man. Are you nervous about November at all?
I got a piece about it. Yeah.
Really?
Because here it is. It's either Trump's going to win and we got a shot. 4 years at stopping some of the craziness. Or I'm moving to Italy. So either way,
You're
good.
covered, man.
Yeah, that's true. No wonder you
I'll
got
be your
peace
house
about
boy.
it.
Can I be your house boy?
We're going to call it Leland Live.
Yeah, because we're gonna continue to be overrun if we got more Democrat. I do have peace about it as well. I feel like we're in a really good spot and that we can do this. We all know the cheating. We all know what we're up against, but I have a pretty good feeling about it too. But if I think too much about it, then I get a little nervous because I'm like anything could happen.
Because we saw that in 20, right?
Right.
A lot of things haven't made any sense for a number of years, but I don't know. I just really do have a piece about it. I can't believe we're that far afield that somebody like that could actually win power in these times with everything going against her candidacy. But, we've seen worse. And again, I'm brushing up on my Italian.
Yes, I don't blame you. We're going to have to come visit.
Hey.
There's a new documentary comes out, I think, on October the 10th that was put together by James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, formerly of Project Veritas. And he announced it. Tucker Carlson's doing this live tour around the country. James O'Keefe was part of that tour last night. I don't know what town they were in. And announced, hey, I've been putting this documentary together, and we're releasing it on the Tucker Carlson network. And what it is him going to the border and covering every aspect of it, from embedding with cartels to following the migrants themselves on their journey, talking to Border Patrol agents about what they're going through. Looks like a fascinating documentary. This is the preview for it. I think it's just a couple minutes long, but this is going to be must-see stuff.
Okay.
We got an unaccompanied minor right here, guys. This is heartbreaking right here.
See the handcuffs? Those criminals are being put with the kids?
Yep.
They're putting the criminals with the kids. Does sacrificing your value system and integrity to feed your family make you a bad person? They're putting blinders on right now to stop us from seeing what's happening. There seemed to be an internal struggle between doing what people perceived as the morally right thing and pursuing their livelihood.
You can't move 500,000 children in 3 years if you're asking a lot of questions.
Maybe it's all just human nature. Maybe the powers that be know that.
That is
Let's go. Stop the car. Stop the car. Where are you going? This is very upsetting.
They're right there. Get down.
We're in the secret facility right now. This is all about money. There's a car right there. They got ladders right now. Me or all the migrants. We're headed north. It's not about people. How much money are you making off of this crisis? $1 billion.
Every single agent knows deep in his heart what's going on is wrong.
I know you're just trying to do your job.
We're taking children, we're then delivering them to people who they don't even know.
Okay, what's happening inside that facility?
You know what's happening here?
They all protect each other. The NGOs.
They got some spotlight on us.
The federal government. This is dangerous. I don't think we can trust anybody. America, we made it.
I'm the king of the world.
Follow the journey of the immigrants.
I can't do this, guys.
The journey of the children.
Oh, this is big time. We're in a cartel tunnel now, dog.
We're in a cartel tunnel. And the journey into human nature.
So
some things can't be read in a book or a newspaper. They must instead be lived.
This is stuff we talk about every day, you know, and it hits different when you kind of see it from that angle because, you know, we're reporting what we're reading and, you know, what we're seeing as well. But I think for them to package it up like that and really give all sides of the story, because, I mean, we all know how bad it is down there. I mean, it's a humanitarian crisis.
That's a well-produced trailer. Here's what occurred to me. He's doing with this piece what our the people with the lack of professional self-respect in the mainstream media should have been doing the last 20 years. Mm-hmm. And the story's not just there anymore. It's in Sylacauga.
Yeah.
It's in Springfield, Ohio. It's in Nantucket, the story we saw yesterday. It's in the country now. It's not even a border story anymore. It's
yeah,
crazy.
and in particular, we played a clip today from the Fairhope City Council here in Alabama. Apparently, they're being overrun as well.
Powerful. Yeah.
And they just, it's like, it's not just about, oh, there's too many brown people in our community or whatever, which is what they try to paint it as. I mean, people are getting in car wrecks. People are getting killed. You know, in best case scenario, you're getting hit by an illegal and then you're just out a car, you know, because they don't have insurance.
And they're having, it's not Americans or an American problem that America is discriminatory or xenophobic or these things that get thrown at us.
Yeah.
Because it's happening in Italy and it's happening in Sweden and it's happening in the United Kingdom. This is a globalist effort to dilute the values, the social structure, the economies, the safety of Western nations, have them pull themselves apart.
Yeah.
Over this wave of humanity.
And we're seeing it. I mean, I looked at a chart the other day and it was showing the breakdown between just over the past year and a half, or I guess since 22, the amount of immigrants that are going to blue cities opposed to red cities. Oh, yeah. And I think that's with the Sylacauga or Fairhope or Springfield, Ohio, we're seeing that is now the goal when they bring these people in, whether they're flying them in or whatever. They're sending them to the small towns and saying, hey, there's factories out there. You can work out there.
It's overwhelming. And the thing is, there was a guy in there that said he made $1 million. We're finding out about these NGOs. They are making so much money, both from the government and these factories that are getting cheap labor, and they're paying these NGOs to handle the processing of the paperwork.
Yeah.
It's an alignment and a conspiracy against us. I don't care what country they're coming from. It's wrong. Biden can wave all the wands he wants and try to make it legal. It's not legal, and it needs to be reversed.
What do you think about take any city, whether it's Springfield or Sylacauga, and what is it about the city council, in your opinion, that's causing them to allow this to happen?
Well, I saw some of the comments from the Sylacauga meeting last night, and somebody, I guess in the state government, made the point that they don't have legal status. It's not that they're legally here, but they're lawfully here. They've got a lawful status for a temporary time frame to be in the United States.
Yeah.
And so these not to defend them, because I think that a lot of them have been arrogant. There's no transparency, but they also don't know what's going on. The federal government's not sharing with them what they're doing. These people get dumped into the community and they can't discriminate. A hospital ER cannot turn away a patient. A school cannot turn away a student. Mm-hmm. Police can't randomly just harass people for existing. Now, unlike, again, back to Italy, I got 2 times on the trip, I just got randomly approached to ask me for my passport. And so we did. I mean, it's their country. I kept it on me.
Wow.
Train stations, transport, they just randomly spot check, want to know who you are and why you're there. That's what a decent country does. That's what a secure country does. They've also got a problem with immigration like this. The way it works there is Tunisia sort of sticks out into the Mediterranean from Africa. Mm-hmm. There's one island that's an Italian territory island in the middle of the Mediterranean called Lampedusa. It's got 16,000 people on it. The Africans have been told, get on a boat and get out to international water, we'll come pick you up.
Yeah.
So they get on anything that floats, and they get out however many miles out that is in the Mediterranean. And the NGOs there, same system of non-governmental organizations, pick them up in the middle of the Med and dump them on Lampedusa, just like they're getting dumped on Silicaga and Coleman and everywhere else.
Yeah.
Lampedusa, the way the EU works, you get 1 foot inside Europe, you're in all of Europe. So you can go from there now to the United Kingdom or wherever you want to go on a train. And so Italy's trying to process them in, get them dumped back into the continent and get them the hell out of Italy. But they're getting dumped on because they're the closest country to the chaos. And they're being inundated as well. They're trying to handle it. The only time, I'll tell you the truth, the only time I felt any sense of insecurity, like it might not be safe, was where there's a few immigrants that have been dumped into Italy and they're hanging around a train station in Florence. That was it. Everywhere else I went, it's Italians being civil to each other and being Italians. You go to the train station where they're hanging out looking for a ride or trying to find out where they're going, and there's harassment, there's panhandling, there was all this stuff. It's not just our problem. The world is dealing with this. The Western world is dealing with this, and it's very much by design.
It's crazy.
It's insane.
Tony Gump, are you willing to take in any Haitians?
Not currently.
Hell no.
Jean Bird?
Yeah, bring them.
Hey, if they'll pay the rent, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could have sent them up on your roof.
I'm going to be moving soon anyway, so y'all come on. I don't like my landlord anyway. Y'all come on. I got spare rooms.
We'll just dump them at
They'll
your
take
house.
care of that
and
cat problem.
That's
By the way,
right.
I got a parody for you. Cat snack fever is what I call it. Cat snack fever.
Let me
Write that down.
that's
and, get to work on
good.
that.
Oh, my gosh. Let me get my pen out.
I mean, I know that's probably old by now. That story's kind of died off.
I don't know. We'll do eating the cats, eating the dogs till the cats and the dogs come home, as they say.
Yep.
Snack fever.
I was thinking also about and I'm sure you talked about this, the George Soros deal with the radio stations.
Oh, yeah.
With Odyssey, is that the name of the company?
That's the company, yeah. Apparently.
And Odyssey's got, X number of stations around the country. Soros was making a bid, and most people know this by now, making a bid to buy 200 of their radio stations. Do you think that's all of their stations, or is that just a portion?
They're a digital company. They've also got a terrestrial footprint. Mm-hmm. In fairness, they do some business with our company.
Really?
And Soros, the way it's always been is the FCC is supposed to guard community standards. These stations are licensed to provide things like we do. We're live and local all day long. We're a local station. We serve our community with sports and weather and news and everything that's going on. This guy's a foreigner. It's a foreign investment. There's a slower process to vet. In fact, there's a 25% cap supposedly on foreign ownership in any of these entities. Mm-hmm. And so by a partisan 3-2 majority, the FCC fast-tracked, thus bypassing the appeals process, allowing Soros to buy these stations. Soros is not buying them from a capital investment. Stations are struggling around the country if they don't know what they're doing. And he's not buying them because he's buying them to control and begin a process of shutting up shows like yours and mine. That's what this is about. We are the punk rockers of the First Amendment nowadays. We're the last of a group of people that have not been silenced yet.
Right.
They've shut people off all over the internet. They've shut down, thank God for Elon Musk giving an open platform. The censorship that's happening around the world, I mean, he's having to battle whole countries over censorship.
Right.
The terrestrial radio sphere is one of the last of the Wild West elements of saying what you want and having an open exchange of information.
Yeah.
And so this billionaire, who, again, is all about disrupting our country, is trying to stop that resistance by buying it, by just purchasing it.
Terrestrial radio has been an enemy of the left for a very long time. I mean, with the birth of conservative talk radio.
They hate it because they can't do it. Nobody listens to their stuff.
It's a big failure when they try.
Their small little audiences are overserved by everything else in media. They've got everything. They've got the Hollywood. They got all the news networks. They got most of the cable networks, half of Fox and the rest of them. What they don't have is the ability to draw audiences like we do, especially on a local level, and entertain them and keep them.
But think about this. With what we do, how hard would it be if you were pushing, if your agenda was the agenda of the left, where you can't base anything in fact, you can't back up what you say, you just got to get out there and say it. That'd be tough. Like our callers would give us the business and say, "Oh yeah, you're wrong. Let me show you why."
I mean, anybody can talk in a bubble. They just wouldn't take calls.
Right. That's true. They'd be like me. They wouldn't take calls.
I don't think it's just to turn it left. I think it's to shut it up.
Yeah.
I think it's just to close it up and make it go away. I heard Mark Levin on the way here to your studio talking about this. He was very passionate because some of his affiliates are caught up in this. And he was making the point that podcasts like these will always be there. We'll continue to be able to reach somehow people in the public. But that that Congress apparently, and I don't trust the Republicans, but apparently the oversight committees that are oversee the FCC, the Speaker of the House, some Senate Republicans are now onto this story, and they're raising alarm bells about the FCC short-circuiting the process of approval.
Right.
And Congress is now about to try to intercede and slow the process down.
They should, because at the end of the day, the rules are already there. If there's whoever's buying whatever station, if it's got over 25% foreign ownership, you gotta pump the brakes. Really, not even supposed to do it.
Yep.
And instead of saying, "Well, let's check how much foreign ownership," they just subverted that. Went on to, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, they've got a 3-2. I mean, that's what I heard is that you had 5 voting. 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans. Everything.
They have weaponized every aspect of government, and what's not completely partisan has gone completely incompetent.
Yeah.
It's the most out of control thing in a long time.
Because you can't even trust the justice system
Not anymore.
I mean, the FBI is one thing, CIA is one thing, but like just your courts. I mean, how lucky does Trump get with Judge Eileen Cannon? Now she's on the case with the Ryan Ruth Trump assassin,
for whatever that's worth.
And who knows how that's going to play out? But
look, the founders knew this stuff would happen. They knew it would happen. They studied history all the way back to Rome. I mean, they studied all the great civilizations, and they wanted a decentralized country where power wasn't concentrated. Slowly, it's become more and more concentrated in Washington, and now even the branches don't check each other like they should. And so what we're going to have is the old saying, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
That's where we are. And honestly, if I've got to be honest, it's a insidious relationship between corporate America and big government. We've, in the private sector, concentrated so much power in corporatizing everything, corporate America owning everything, that it's become soulless and insidious and lecturing and intrusive.
Yeah.
And we need to bust that up. I'm going to talk about Italy the whole time. One of the more refreshing things was they have a lot of their retail are mom and pop businesses. All of their restaurants, there's not a chain anything. They get their food from a farmer down the road where they've been getting it for hundreds of years.
That's so smart.
They have a system that has not been conglomerated and sold out, and they're not spraying poison on their food and poison on their land and just propping everything up for profit. It's just about the reality and the purity of what they do with their culture and with their food. If we don't disintegrate some of this stuff back into our society where we've got more small towns that sustain themselves alone, you don't have to have a Walmart to have what you need, or on and on. We've just gotten so far away from that. We're idiocracy. We're just one giant corporation.
It feels like more people are talking about that, and you can probably give RFK Jr. some credit for making it a little more mainstream. And everybody's like, you know what? They have been poisonous.
It's
with
trash.
Their food.
We are eating trash. We're fed trash. It's just all. Even when you think you're going out buying fresh vegetables, all that stuff's been genetically modified to survive transit and to be more profitable or to grow more efficiently per acre.
Next thing you know, you're eating a transgender cucumber.
Exactly. That thing's got 2 penises.
Yeah. Well, that's not
That's
good. I think about Alex Jones. We're talking about, what they're doing to the country. Alex Jones talked a lot about that stuff. He also is, the current thing with Alex Jones is they're liquidating all of his assets because of the Sandy Hook thing, which, whatever people feel about that. I mean, Alex Jones is really being punished for saying what he wants to say. I mean, even if the saying Sandy Hook was staged, as insidious as it is, or it's not, like, dude should have the right to say that.
Look, we've started a few years. I don't know when the phrase hate speech started. I want to say it was back in the 90s because I remember I was doing a different iteration of the show back in the 90s. And I remember when they first introduced that. That was the first attempt to segregate types of speech and make some off limits. Mm-hmm. So and then we were arguing, what is hate speech? Why should it be? Because, no, we started with hate crimes. So you shoot somebody. Is there a love crime? Because if they're dead, you should go to prison.
Right.
I mean, if you shoot somebody,
you got hate in your heart.
Suddenly, you should be punished a little bit more if it hits a certain category. So then we got into calling speech that. The thing about purists on the First Amendment understand hate speech is free speech.
Yeah,
I may disagree with it, but it's free speech. I grew up in a country. And then the tables were different. It was the hippies burning the flags, and these guys coming home from Vietnam getting spit on, and the country was tearing itself apart in a different way. But the left consistently argued to us that offensive speech was protected speech.
Yeah,
and the Supreme Court ruled the most protected forms of speech are political speech. And as it's ironic, it's Bill Pryor on the 11th Circuit. I used to know him back in the day when he was coming through Alabama politics. And he was on my show years ago, and he used to say this all the time, and I picked it up from him to give him credit. That the left guaranteed us in those days that you have a right to be offended.
Right.
When Larry Flynt won the Hustler magazine cases, he was standing up for speech, and that offended the heck out of conservatives and socially conservative people. But the courts ruled in his favor because whether we liked it or not, it's a free country. We got away from that somehow. And now there's categories of speech, and that's wrong.
Yeah.
Even stuff you disagree with is still free. If you can qualify it, it's not free.
I think to piggyback off of what we said a minute ago about people waking up to, the food stuff and what the government's done to our food supply, I think they're waking up to the free speech thing too, because a lot of people just got lulled into, it's whatever, it's still a free country, First Amendment. They're starting to realize that their First Amendment's being chipped away at. And that was probably thanks to Elon and them being able to go on Twitter and be like, oh my gosh, I can actually say these things on the internet. It's, I feel like, and I don't want to be overly optimistic about where we're headed, but I just feel like there's a lot of people that were not engaged previously that are now being affected by either immigration, the economy, or whatever, that are looking around and going, man, we got some issues.
I know that younger generation, you study some of the Gen Z guys for the bad rap on them anyway. They're more they're on a conservative plane that's equal to the World War II generation. Mm-hmm. By that I mean they want to return to a country they've heard about where there are more traditional values. They don't like debt. They don't like just consumerism or materialism. They do cherish their rights. And maybe they'll mature and grow up and fight for those things because, honestly, I'm getting too old. I'll be gone by the time we fight that battle.
Well, let me go back to Alex Jones real quick. Can we listen to him scream for just like 30 seconds?
Sure.
He was with Tucker Carlson. I just want to hear him scream. It actually soothes me.
I'm excited about this.
But I'm for the war peacefully with information against the globalists. The real war's here with the globalists and Soros and Obama and the New World Order and BlackRock. They've declared war on us, and we accept the challenge. We're taking the country back.
You sound like Howard Dean there for a second.
Yeah.
1776. You tell him. No, you say it. The answer to 1984 is 1776.
Yeah, something about Alex Jones screaming. Just I don't know.
It's like
brings me
WWE kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe it's my history watching wrestling.
Hogan. He stole Hulk Hogan's move. He needs a boa.
There's just and I like some of Alex's views, but it's just this character, and I think it's genuinely him. But this character of him that's just overly excitable and yelling. I find it so entertaining. I absolutely love it. And, I hate to see the guy get railroaded, especially over a free speech issue. But that's what's happening. So they're liquidating all of his stuff.
Yep. And
I think what should happen is Elon, since he's the free speech absolutist, buy all of it and then just hire Alex Jones back on his show.
Some groups trying to buy him out and then hire him back. I don't know.
I saw Roger Stone tweeted out. He said, "I'm trying to get a group of guys together and buy it back." But Tony made this point earlier: is that Alex Jones could never own it again because they're just going to take it away from him again because he's on the hook for, $1 billion, and they're going to continue to chip away at him until they get all of it.
And the bankruptcy doesn't protect him for some reason. They kind of did something new with him this time.
Yeah, changing the rules to win a court case.
Just like they fired Tucker Carlson, and he's never been bigger. So
right. I mean, can you believe that?
Yeah.
We actually got to see him, his first public appearance after he got fired. It was like a week after he got fired. He was over in Oxford.
Yeah.
And he was speaking at a fundraiser that was previously booked. And he didn't talk a whole lot about it, but he brought it up. And Tucker Carlson live is really good. Like the people that are getting to go to these events, because he's got a new guest every night, they're very lucky. It's really good.
I've never seen a live one. I just know he's very thoughtful, and I like what he's doing.
He had Kid Rock at one of them the other day, and it was so funny because Kid Rock went through and talked about stories that he experienced with Donald Trump and like times he went to the White House. Remember when it was him and Ted Nugent at the White House early on?
That, yeah.
He said Trump brought him into this adjacent room from the Oval Office, and he said Trump looks up to me, he goes, "You know what room this is?" He's like, "No, what is it?" "This is the Monica Lewinsky room." That's what Trump says to him.
Yeah.
And then, so Kid Rock is like, "Ted, get in here," and brings Ted Nugent in there. And he's like, "Hey, Trump, tell him. This is the Monica Lewinsky room." I was like, it's good.
Thank you, Bill Clinton.
He was like, but one of the most poignant things that was said, he goes, he asked Trump, he's like, "Man, is it okay for you to just be welcoming me around here and show me everything?" And Trump's like, "Well, this is not my house. This is the people's house. This is your house." And I was like, that's what we need, baby. The people's house.
And now it's like a nursing home. It's like Shady Pines.
It's so
for one
bad.
old man.
Oh, man, it's disgusting, really. Yep. Absolutely disgusting. What about, I'm just throwing random topics at you at this point. What about P. Diddy?
What about P. Diddy?
I mean, what's your thoughts?
I'm trying to figure it all out. I wasn't the biggest Diddy fan, so I mean, music left me about the time he took off. I just don't care.
What about you, John Bird? What's your opinion on P. Diddy?
Burn him.
That's drastic.
The newest story about that today, that the baby oil was not just baby oil.
That it was GHB.
That it was spiked with that GHB substance that knocks people out, the date rape drug, and that's how they, because you can absorb it through your skin apparently.
I mean, that's a lot of GHB.
What a
it's
what a
in
loser.
1,000 bottles of. But here's what's fascinating about the story. So Suge Knight, you're familiar with Suge Knight?
I am.
He went on Chris Cuomo's show. Okay, I guess call him from prison.
I heard about the egg thing.
Yeah, I'll get into that in a minute.
Okay, all right.
So he gets on there and he starts talking about, Cuomo proposes the question of, so usually you see in a lot of these situations, people that are hurting other people in this way had been hurt themselves. And he gives some insight on that as far as the entire industry goes. It's actually really good. I want to listen to this real quick.
What I'm trying to say is this. I respect your show and respect what you're doing, but most important thing is there's got to be a solution, because this has been going on in the industry.
It says on the phone live from prison
for decades. And at the same time, nobody wants this to be true, and it shouldn't have to be true. But if we don't fix it and do something about it, history will constantly
repeat itself. Now, Suge, you said something early on that I want to get clarification for the audience. Suge, you said early on, you can't just look at Diddy in isolation. You said this was done to him. He learned from others, and it was done to him, and then he did to others. To me, that sounds like what I hear when people are talking about abusive situations, hurt people, that someone was sexually abused, they wind up being a perpetrator. Is that what you're suggesting about Sean Combs, that he was sexually abused and he now sexually abuses?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think he repeat what was done to him. And like I said, if you look at Russell Simmons, you know the truth. Andre Rail, you know the truth. Pride Davis, you know the truth. Jimmy Iovine, you know the truth. It was at a point where it's like a whole sex trade, because you take Nicole from the Pussycat Dolls, she took.
So he goes into this whole thing about how this is just how the industry operates. He brings up Clive Davis, and I think we did a show where we talked in depth about this. Clive Davis is like the main guy in the music industry, makes everybody famous. And, he's he's the one that's at the top sexually exploiting people that, I mean, you basically are signing your soul to the devil when you get in that industry. And instead of it being your soul, you're signing off your booty hole to Clive Davis. Yeah. Your hole, not your soul.
All I'm saying is we don't have this problem with bluegrass. That's all I'm saying. People do not have this problem.
Well, and then you talked about the egg thing. Like, I want to listen to this real quick because I saw a headline on it, but I didn't actually listen to it. This is the part of the call where he talks about the egg deal.
Okay. They used to have these guys, they used to call it the boiled egg test. They used to take a boiled egg, a raw boiled egg. They have those guys put their pants down and bend over and they stick it up their ass. The egg breaks. They say they're not ready yet. They ain't put enough work in.
If the egg breaks.
Hollywood. So everybody want to go act like they don't know what's going on.
Hold on a second.
But you just look.
Okay. I don't want to hear Cuomo's opinion on this. But
hey, look, this is why I'm not in rap music, because they would never get a boiled egg.
You wouldn't do the boiled egg,
They couldn't get scrambled eggs up my ass.
You were talking about doing the one chip challenge and everything else, the hot chip. How about the boiled egg challenge?
Ain't doing no.
The new social media challenge. So a boiled egg, which is soft.
Right.
The test is they put it in there.
They take the peel off. I'm not clear. No,
yeah,
I think
they talk about it breaking. Like, how do you
peel? They get the peel on it. If you put it up in there and you crack it, like an Easter egg or whatever.
Well, that shouldn't be very hard.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Unless you're loosey goosey. I mean, like,
my God in heaven.
It's like, oh, I just dropped it down in there. You're gonna have to.
Some of these
get
guys
that back.
are like, "Do you have an ostrich?" Good Lord,
it's crazy. When the story first came up, I didn't really give it a lot of credence because I'm like, it's whatever. I get bored with some of these Hollywood, famous people stories, like Justin Timberlake getting arrested. They made such a big deal about it. I'm like, that's stupid. Like,
who cares?
Nobody cares. But this one has bigger implications because in that interview with Suge Knight, he goes on to talk about how this is basically the music industry version of Epstein, with all the blackmail, with everything else that it's just.
Well, I'm wondering what the FBI swoops in and gathers all the evidence like they did with Epstein, and then the evidence disappears.
Right.
Who are they protecting?
Because they were talking about politicians
who are they
being involved
protecting?
in this.
Yeah.
I say give us
to
the
me,
goods.
That's the only good that's come of it for me today. Was I was on another corporate media rant or corporations rant earlier today, and it didn't get a laugh out of AJ, so I'm going to try it on John Bird. But I basically said the way corporate America works nowadays is it's P. Diddy and we're covered in baby oil.
That's a good one, man.
I thought that might work on
That's actually right.
I tried that.
That's very no, but you maybe on the next time you tell that, throw a boiled egg in there, and then,
maybe so. Yeah, once that story kind of saturates.
We're the boiled egg. And I hate to go down this road, but I talked to Tony about it before the show, and so John Bird and I do the Willa segments, and you're very familiar with it. You hear it.
Yeah.
You're always listening to the show.
My favorite is Where You'll Close At.
Where You'll Close At. We got a lot of them, and I thought to myself, Leland's never actually been a part of the wheel of segments. So why don't we take this opportunity? I'll just grab a couple of old stories from previous wheels.
Sure.
And then we'll present them, and we'll just kind of get your, opinion.
Can I have some more peanut butter whiskey before we do
Yes, you're actually going to need this.
I'm going to need it. Hit me.
The first story is, it comes from a couple weeks ago, and it was about a guy who broke into this lady's fence. And inside this lady's fence, her car is parked and everything else. It's in Washington, D.C. Police are still actively looking for this guy, by the way. He goes inside the fence. Actually, go ahead and play it, and I'll just explain as he does it. This is actually the security camera footage. So here's a guy. He's a random guy, got a lunchbox. He gets inside the fence.
I wonder what happened to Coolio. Let's see now.
He takes a cucumber out of his lunchbox. Apparently, he was going to have cucumbers for lunch.
Okay.
He then proceeds, as you see here, to shove the cucumber, wedge it into the grill of the car.
All right.
And this is, as you see, he's pulling his pants down. I made sure there's nothing graphic in here.
Yes.
So maybe he's still wedging the cucumber in there.
I think Coolio's on a fantastic voyage right now.
Hold on.
So, okay, he's got it in there. He turns around. He seems to be.
So he mounted the cucumber in the car grill.
Yes, it is.
So he's done this before.
Out.
That's expert.
Yes.
Work there.
Yeah, he obviously knows what he's doing. Now he's pulling his pants down, and he's backing up to the cucumber.
Okay, all right then. Number one, not everybody gets invited to Diddy's house. So you brother got to do what he got to do.
He said, "Forget a boiled egg. I got a cucumber."
Speaking of Coolio, got something brand new for that. It's in one of his songs.
And
what if somebody got in that car and drove off, and then they got home? They're like, damn, usually it's just a butterfly or something in the grill.
Well, and you got to wonder, if the lady before she watched, what prompted her to watch the footage was a smeared cucumber in her grill.
Yikes.
She's like, how did I? Oh, he's got to play it off. Nothing going on here, buddy. Move along.
Yep.
He's watching. He looks at the cucumber, and he's done. He's done.
Well, that was fast.
And he's smoking a cigarette, as you would do.
Of course he is. Yeah.
He's still got the cucumber. He took the cucumber with him.
Oh, it's used.
Yeah.
Make him a cucumber sandwich.
Well,
And what's he going to do with this? Is he going to put it back in the lunchbox? Oh, no. Okay. Okay. Go ahead and cut it. He was not finished. He was not finished.
Like I said earlier, they don't make produce in America like they used to.
Dude, I watched just the first half of that video. I didn't know he was going to go that route.
I didn't see that part either.
I was like, maybe he just keeps it on the other side of the car. And it's just, we'll get a second story for one of the segments. Let's go with this, and it'll kind of. I feel like everything is tying together at this point, at least from the start of the P. Diddy conversation.
Oh wow, is this more?
This one, it's
I'm
it's
very
alive
uncomfortable right now. There's some there's some HR stuff going on with this.
Oh, I've already had
HR man.
I've already had my HR visit.
Okay.
2-foot eel that the man just decided to put in an inappropriate spot and had to get it surgically removed.
A 2-foot eel.
It's the first line says, "This is no way to do your own colonoscopy."
Yikes.
Vietnamese doctors removed a 2-foot long eel from a man's abdomen that had chewed through his intestines after he shoved it up the backside willy.
What was the rap song? You be illin'?
What's the Beastie Boys song? Right to Ill or something like that.
Sure.
I can't even remember.
Yeah. License to Ill.
License to Ill. That's it. Nauseating
Ill.
discovery was made when a 31-year-old Indian national was admitted to Viet Duc Hospital in Hanoi on July 27th with excruciating pain. Doctors learned that the adventurous patient had slipped the phallic fish up his backside earlier in the day, and it tried to escape. That's the worst. What's worse? Putting it up there in the first place, or the fact that it's eating through your intestines?
Being the eel, I think that's the worst.
Yeah, they did get the raw end of the deal.
The eel got the bad. Yeah.
I think what probably happened is he was walking along and he slipped, and then the eel went up there. That's what it was. An accident. It was purely accidental.
What's it? Listen, you were in media for a while. This before your radio stuff. You were doing local news. You're a reporter.
Oh yeah.
And you were on the crime beat. For a lot of that time. What was the craziest thing you ever saw while on the job?
Dude, I don't know about crazy. I remember a lot of the funny stuff you see. But, I mean, I used to see a lot of murder and mayhem.
Yeah.
The randomness of that job, because you're just always out looking for stories. One of the funniest stories I remember happened on Southside. We were across the street. There was some establishment that was about to close. And it was a big deal. This is, of course, not far from where the drive-by happened.
Right.
Saturday night. And we went over there to interview the people that were I can't remember, I think they were either closing or reopening. It was a business store. And we saw these ambulances pulled up at a restaurant across the street. And naturally, we got a camera right there. Something's going on. We need to know. So we kind of walked over to see what was happening. Why were the cops and the ambulances showing up? And this guy walked out, and I said, "What happened in there, ma'am?" And he said, "This dude started choking. And this other dude came along, and he did the Heineken remover." There's things people say on a crime scene.
Oh, that's funny.
One of the strangest stories, though, there was a house fire around Thanksgiving one time. And I'm trying to remember the part of town, kind of west side. And we went over to it was a tragic story because they had put burglar bars all over the windows. And so the family that was there, it was an older lady and some younger kids. they were trapped in the fire, and it killed everybody in the house.
Dang.
It was like first cold snap. They lit a fire. The house burns down.
Yeah.
Tragedy. So they send us over with a live truck. And so we're standing there, and I noticed there was so much traffic. There were people parking all up and down the street and walking up to the house and leaving. And it was just an unusual thing. You cover a lot of crime scenes and tragic scenes, and you're wondering what's going on here. I was getting ready to do a live shot for, I think, our noon newscast. And then I just observed, and I noticed all the plates were out-of-state plates. They were all kind of out-of-state plates. Driving to this house, they'd get out of the car. Some of them have sacks in their hands, and they'd walk up to the front of the house and then walk away from the house. It was the weirdest thing. So I asked the guy, what's going on? And he goes, she was a medicine woman. I said, what do you mean? And after going all the way around the world, I figured out the cut to the story was she was some kind of voodoo type priestess that people would come to get spells taken off of them or for her advice. And she told everybody she ever did business with, if I ever die, you light a candle and then you come to see me and you leave money on my doorstep for her family. And these people were coming from all over. They found out that she died, and I guess they were afraid if they didn't, the spell would be back on their lives.
Wow.
So they were coming with bags of money and leaving money on her porch and driving back to wherever they came from. It was the weirdest thing, and I couldn't pin it down enough to really report on it, so I hinted around about it in the report.
Yeah.
But the whole community knew about this woman, and some called her a priestess, some called her a queen, something, and a medicine woman. But it was sort of that sort of Creole voodoo hex kind of culture that really believes in those kind of things.
Talk about a good
very serious about
money
it.
maker.
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
I mean, that's better than phishing emails and call centers from India.
But you're dead, you know. So,
but you're dead. Yeah, that's actually not good. You should have done that while you were alive.
Well, life insurance is expensive, so you know.
Yeah, you probably didn't have life insurance.
It was weird. They were, I can sit here and think all night about crazy stuff you run into. It's a fascinating job because in those days, I mean, really, you're getting paid to go to the most fascinating thing in town that day.
Yeah,
that's your job, is to go find whatever it is. It may be a political meeting, or it may be some tragedy, but you're sent there to do the lead story.
What's the time frame? 90s, 90 what?
Early in this town, it was early 90s, 94 to like 96 or 7. Yeah, just a couple 3 years here.
Did you enjoy working with? You worked with Lindenberg.
Oh yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
We were all the same age. I mean, we had this little generation of us that came through, and I'm telling you, we were the best. We dominated in the ratings. Everybody was serious about their job. There was talent all around us.
You think about it, like that relationship between you two.
Yeah.
If it weren't for that relationship, 99.5 would either not exist or it wouldn't look like it does now.
She instantly was a friend. Her little desk was right here, and mine was right next to hers, and we were just all lined up in this big open room, typing on knocking out our stories. You don't spend a lot of time in a newsroom if you're a good reporter. You're out getting the story and coming back and putting it together, and you go home. And I was very young. We're all in our 20s, but she was a total professional. So were everybody in that atmosphere back then. But it's a small town, and we all know each other. I feel like a lot of the old timers in TV and radio, you wind up working with almost everybody in town at some point if you stay around. So, but yeah, it became a good friendship and a mutual respect. We kept crossing paths, and I would eventually hire her to get into radio. I knew she had the personality for it, but couldn't talk her into it until she finally was ready to do it, and that's how we all kind of got together.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know a lot of media people, and I don't know. I mean, probably just the way I got into the industry, and I just kind of flew under the radar. But I feel like everybody does, like you said, knows everybody. But I don't know anybody except for you and everybody else at the station.
You're still kind of new.
Yeah,
you're kind of the new guy.
That's true.
But over time, I mean, it's a different world nowadays than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a different place. And people kind of wash in and out of it. But, hang around, kid. You'll get to know some people.
Yeah, maybe.
Some of them you don't want to know.
You think I'm going to survive and make it that long?
Dude, I think he's the heir apparent to the...
absolutely.
To my empire. When I retire, it's all Andrew's.
Oh, I like the sound
bequeath
of that.
you the afternoon show.
Well, you brought me in. You know, I kind of made my own way at the teeny tiny station in Anniston, and then after that, you kind of just drug me along. Most people know that story.
Well, I heard Andrew on the air one day just by happenstance, and I was like, this kid, man, he's got attitude, and that's what I was looking for.
I don't even remember if the show was any good back then. I was,
it was good enough to get my attention, so I reached out and got him to sub for me, and that's how it works. I mean, I wouldn't be back on if it weren't for Matt Murphy getting me to guest host for him.
Yeah.
I didn't ever think I'd go back to doing radio. I was doing something completely different, but it was fun, and it intrigued me, and he just sort of drug me back into it.
You were doing politics at that time?
I was actually working in commercial real estate. I was trying to get away from all of it.
Yeah.
I was trying to work in a family business, and that was an education. It was a good business, but this is what I grew up doing. So
yeah,
it called me back.
Felt it in your bones.
Yeah.
Got to get back to it. Yeah, that was something I just never thought I was gonna. I always wanted to do this since I was a kid. But once I got into like my late 20s and started creeping in early 30s, I'm like, I'm never going to do radio because nobody let me even wash toilets in a radio station. I couldn't get an internship until I came across WD&G over in Anniston. They had never had anybody ask to intern, so they were like, "Yeah, of course, you can come work for free."
We're big time now.
yeah. So that's where it all started. Anyway, I think I'm out of anus stories. So
we've had 4 or 5, and that's my recommended daily allowance. Actually, it's my yearly allowance. I don't care if I ever talk about another anus for the rest of the year.
Hey, you just stick with me, kid. We'll talk about anuses all day.
I wonder what y'all did over here, John Bird. John's quiet. Why is he so damn quiet?
We've got this weird thing where, like, when we have a guest in, he doesn't want to intrude. Normally, he's big and bombastic, but
oh man, it's all about you, bro.
Where'd you get that shirt?
You like that?
Yep. I like that. I need that.
How far back do you two go?
It's weird. We've circled around each other. You know what's funny?
Yeah, what?
Is last night Jessica and I were talking about something, and the theme for SpongeBob came up on her computer, and she was playing the SpongeBob SquarePants theme song. Was on some video she was watching, and I instantly had a recollection of the best political parody that's ever been done in this town. Was my old boss Bob Riley was trying to raise our taxes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I left the administration after that. I couldn't do that, and John did a parody for the show he was working on at the time. Was it Russ
with Murphy? I did it with Murphy. Yeah, I was PD.
He was working with Murphy, and he did the theme to SpongeBob SquarePants, but he called it SpongeBob Tax Pants. It was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. And actually, somewhere along the way, somebody gave me a CD of it, but I was trying to tell her about it. I went on YouTube. I couldn't find it anywhere. You got to send me a copy of that song.
Man. I'll definitely do it.
That was when I knew this guy's he's a genius parody.
Yeah.
I like writing them, but I kind of suck at making them. Mm-hmm. This guy makes them where they're flawless.
I love making
them.
Flawless.
He's good.
Plus, I'm lazy now.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, we got so much going on and so much rattling around in our head. It's hard to.
And the news got so serious.
Yeah.
Wow. Times got difficult. COVID screwed everything up. Even our show, the way we do it's not as fun as it used to be.
Yeah, because when you get an administration that's at least effectively running the country to an extent, like we are able to loosen our tie and have a little more fun. But now it's like doom and gloom every day because that's what's there.
Oh, it's just a constant vigilance because we just all sort of feel threatened right now. You don't want to, and I don't want to get too serious. I think you got to have some humor in life. But the first mission is to get the news of the day out to everybody because they ain't got time to read all the stuff we read all day. Our job is to digest it down and make it make sense. Mm-hmm. And so I think we do a decent job at that. We got a good balance on the station.
Yeah.
We got people that are less intense than us. Mm-hmm. That do the fun stuff, but we come in with the heavy in the afternoon, so that's how we do it. Yeah,
that's it. We get heavy.
Cat snack fever. That's our.
Don't forget that. Don't forget cat snack fever.
And by the way, what hurts my heart and my soul is that John has never invited me to play with him on John Bird Plays the Guitar.
John Bird.
Somehow we have revolved around each other and never actually gotten to play together much.
All right, here's the deal, dude. You pick the song.
We'll come up with it.
You pick the song to sing it, and I will play and sing harmony.
All right. No, you sing it. I just want to come get in the background.
Okay. All right.
I'll be a surprise guest. They won't even know I'm there.
All right, let's work it out.
Like I'll do a banjo or a mandolin in the background, just some weird instrument.
Yeah, I like it. All right, so here's what we do at the end of each show.
Okay.
We go around the table, and we ask everybody, what's your final words? And final words could be whatever you want to relate to the audience. Could be
when you die?
No. Just for this. And it could be. You could give the quote you want to give when you die. It could be an inspirational quote, or you can say, go F yourself. It's a free-for-all. There's no rules. It's just, hey, this is the last thing I'm saying on the podcast. And we start off with Tony Gump and his final words.
All right.
I'll start off. Congratulations, Leland, on your marriage and all that. That looked awesome. I'm real happy for you. I've been listening to you longer than I've listened to Andrew. No offense, Andrew.
But anyway, old.
Yeah. But anyway, everybody get plenty of meat, water, sunlight, and sleep. Make sure you stay active, and make sure you get active towards November 5th, because we have to win this one. We don't have a choice. We got to flood this election. Even if you know you're going to win your state, go and vote anyway. Very important.
Nice. There we go, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Do you have your final words?
I would say the eternal philosophy is don't stick anything in your ass, number one.
That's good.
Number two, don't sweat the petty things and don't pet the sweaty things.
Yes.
That's a rules to live by. Secondly, peanut butter whiskey is pretty good. What we need now is jelly whiskey.
Yes.
We need PB&J whiskey.
We can make that happen.
And when that happens, I'll come back for your next podcast.
Perfect. Great final words. Yes. Good job. All right, John Bird, your final words, my friend.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about fingernail growth.
Okay. I'm liking that.
Now, I don't know if this happens with everybody, but I try and keep my nails trimmed. It's very important, but they seem to grow fast, but you have to be very aware, because I'm going to share this because I care about everybody out there. I had an incident a couple of days ago. Now, everybody has their own style of wiping when you use the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
Back to the anus.
I was in a hurry. And I actually scratched the inside of my buttocks, not my anus, but the inside of my buttocks. It's very painful. So it's very, very important that you keep them trimmed, and not just trimmed. You want to make sure that you sand them down, or whatever those chicks call
filing.
To keep them smooth, because I'm going to be suffering, because I got to figure out, you still have to use the bathroom and stuff and everything. So please don't suffer like I do.
That would be crack scratch.
And God bless
fever.
America. God bless America.
Very much.
And God bless America.
Scratch butt fever.
John, use 2-ply for one, and you got to make a whole catcher's mitt, man. You can't just take a couple of squares. You can't do anything with a couple of squares. Make you a whole catcher's mitt, man.
Yeah, and you don't want the crack scratch fever.
No, at all.
Well, the problem is, though, when you're a producer, you only got so much time.
Well, that's true.
So, and this was not at a bottom of the top of the hour break when you have more time. I had like 2.5 minutes.
Look, I suggest fiber supplements. You won't even need toilet paper.
Just go spoo. There's nothing better than wiping and nothing being there.
Oh, no wipers, the king.
There you go.
Are we 15 now?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Always.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming by. Everybody appreciates you. It's always a big deal when we get Leland, Whaley, and studio. And obviously, we'll do it again. We got events coming up in the future. Obviously, we see each other every day, but we'll make it happen. So, all right. That's a wrap. Until next time, everybody together. See you guys!